Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel, it's Salla here. So, today's agenda is to make some finishing touches into this folio that I made with Natty and Moon's freebie. It's available in her Facebook group called Natty and Moon Creative. I will link that down below if you want to go and craft this for yourself. I did a video on how I put all of this together, so I will link that down below as well. And that's about all. Now I'm going to get on with it, and the rest of this video will be sped up and on voiceover, so let's get going. Okay, so the really awkward intro is done and we can get going. I inserted that lacy thing between the folio or inside the folio to get some stability basically, and then I clipped it close so that it would be easier for me to place everything down. For the covers closer, I decided to use some thingies called, or they are often called velcros. They are self-adhesive product. These are the ones I'm using are from Craft Emotions, and they are called hook and loop rounds. The next thing I did was taking some unfortunately I cannot remember what the set is called, but it's clip art from Natty and Moon. I will link it down below if I can remember, but it has mice and all sort of sweet treats, so that's what I went with. I wanted to leave some room for the mouse here, the one having his or her picnic, but I wanted to have the cake in the background too. So that's why I put the cake in the, what side is that? Right side of the journaling card, and got the rest of it off, and I will be using it later on, so no worries. I rounded the corners. I think I used the 7mm corner rounder, not sure anymore, but anyway, the corners are rounded, and I tried hard to glue everything down really well, but I missed the spot, so you just saw me fixing it. Now it's time to open the folio. I just took the lace spool or lace thingy out, and I also I recently set myself a crafty goal not to drown into all the Natty and Moon scraps I have laying around, so I'm trying to use those. That's why I took the blue piece of some of her kits that I had, and I just glued it onto the smallest panel on my folio, and then I topped it with some lace. You can see me using a lot of that lace in this video. Then I think I went on to cover the cover, to decorate the cover. And that is exactly the second half of the cake, the piece that I got off from the journaling card. And here it goes down along with the mouse. And here I am doing some surgery. The tail was going too far. It was going over the edge, and because that is a flap that opens like that, if I would have left the tail as it was, it would have, it would have just gone wrong. Here I'm adding some more of the glaze. I love it. It's really thin. It just adds a little touch, nice touch, finishing touch into any project. Now it's time to decorate the next part. I created this tuck spot with the envelope's flap, so I'm just decorating that. And I was trying to avoid gluing my tuck spot down, so I just took a scrap piece of paper and used that to make sure that I didn't glue it shut. That's what I'm trying to say. That is probably my favorite mouse. I used it a lot. And I did some digital crafting. So I made some journaling cards for myself, specifically for this project. That's what you saw me putting there. And we are going in with some more lace. I also have the full-size kit of this same garden body collection from Natty and Moon. And when I say that, I mean I have tons of scraps. And this is one of them. I'm just using it to create like a layer for the flap. I wanted to decorate a little bit. I will get back to this part later on in the video, but I started by just putting that piece of pattern paper right there, along with some inked edges. I really like using ink in my projects. My usual go-to choice is vintage photo. Here we are almost done with the gluing. And I have those 4 pockets that I'm willing to fill up with something. So I'm basically just toying around with different ideas. I actually changed my mind and decided to go with the biggest, biggest pocket first. So I'm making a journaling card. That would have fit, but I want to make things easier for myself. So that's why I decided to just snip a sliver of it off. Then I wanted to add one of the, I think they're whale tail tabs. I'm pretty sure. I just had a bunch laying on my desk, so I picked one. Just something I wanted to do and had around. So use what you have. It's always a good option. Then I wanted to make my journaling card a little bit sturdier. So I got rid of another piece of scrap. This one was white, and this time I took my paper trimmer and trimmed the card down just a little bit to make the edges even. Then I think I used the same 7mm size punch to round the corners. Took the whale tail tab and glued it onto my project. I couldn't leave it hanging off the edge too much because once again we are dealing with a flap and it will fold if I put it too close to the fold. Makes sense, doesn't it? Folds, fold. That is another one of the journaling cards that I made or put together. I was toying with the idea of putting another one of those tabs in there, but I decided not to. Then well, that journaling card actually fit quite nicely. So I used it to measure how wide my journaling card, the next one going into those smaller pockets, should be. Yes, I just take turns using the scissors and paper trimmer depending on my mood. Usually I cannot cut things straight, so yeah. It depends on the day how well that goes. I decided to do a little bit something behind this journaling card, so I made a small extra pocket. It forms a nice little hidden spot right there. And then I tried to decide what I wanted to put on it. So obviously, first choice is always lace. I think I overused this a little bit in this project, but it looks great, so I don't mind. I had one of those tiny journaling cards that I made, so I just put that into my self-made bucket or pocket and printed some more journaling cards. These are from the full kit from Natty's Etsy shop. Once again, it's called Garden Party, all about mice and different plants and blooms, and obviously strawberries. I also used my corner rounder punch a lot in this project. I could have also rounded the corners of the flaps, but I decided to leave them as they are, because I think it's nice to have a little bit variety when it comes to different sorts of, well, everything basically. I just stapled two pieces together. Another fun way to use scraps. And then I took another piece of scrap, rounded the corners, and made my own tab. How cool is that? So you definitely don't need to have a fancy tab punch. You can just make your own. Once again, use what you have. That is my motto. I could have made basically everything with Natty's kit and not add anything extra, but yeah, I added a lot of extra. And you can do that too. I think it's fun. I was almost done for the day, but I decided to punch out some circles with my 1-inch punch so that I could make some button closers the next day. So, yeah. Hi, it's real-time Salla here. Just popped in the middle of the video to tell you that Natty just released these two fuzzy cut sheets full of beautiful, cute mice and strawberries and blueberries. So these are available on her Discord for free. So that's something to check out, definitely. But yes, I'm going to be using these. And that's all. Let's get back to the sped up video. Unfortunately, I cannot share the Discord link here, but I will once again link down the Natty and Moon Creative Facebook group, and you can get the Discord link from there. Here you can see me taking some of the yellow patterned paper circles and gluing them on those yellow cardstock circles for some stability. So I had 4 of the cardboard circles and then 8 of those pattern paper circles you will see why I needed 4 extra ones here soon. But I took my awl and then I took some Pratt's in cream color. Started placing my circles in their places. I first took one, and because I was able to center that quite well, I just used that as a template to cut through or to punch through the rest of them. Once I was happy with the placement, I just took an awl and made a hole into the project and then put a Pratt through it. I will be making the second set off camera because it's quite easy. Here you can see that I actually put the bottom one too close to the opening, so the flap couldn't open freely. That's why I just adjusted it a little bit. I basically made the hole a little bit bigger so that I could slide the circle down a little bit. Here I'm taking 2 extra circles and gluing them on the opposite side where the legs of the Pratts were. So I just covered the Pratts. Now I'm taking some cotton yarn, crochet yarn, and tying it tightly around the Pratt. Then I looped it 3 times around both of the circles or Pratts and cut it. And I was showing I did the other one off camera. I had a pocket there, so I needed to do some fidgeting a little bit. It wasn't too easy to put that one in place, but I managed to do that, so all good. Just something to keep in mind if your closer happens to be on a pocket. If there's enough room, you could clearly use a Velcro or magnetic closer or whatever you want to use. But I was able to use the circles for the closer, so all good. Here I'm making a little scene on the backside of one of the journaling cards. It was bothering me a bit that the mouse was kind of hanging in the air. As you can see, the threads or ropes of the swing, they kind of cut in the middle of the card, so I did cover that. I can't remember if I did it right in this spot or later on, but I put some lace on it. Yeah. Lace. There I'm just cutting a piece out of one of the journaling cards so that I can cover the flap with that cute image of yet another mouse. I just love the graphics on this set. It's so gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. I forgot that I was supposed to put some ink on the image before gluing it down, but it worked well. And here you can see my beloved lace coming in to hide the ropes. And I just think it made it so much better. I could have just left it as it was, but I didn't. I didn't want to do that, so. And once I had the lace, obviously I was going to use a ton more of it on the bottom of that pocket. That's where I started, and it just went on and on from there. What can I say? I love that lace. I'm sure there are so many other lace-loving junk journalers / card makers out there, so I can't be the only one. I didn't measure that much, honestly, when I was making this folio or decorating it. You can see me all through the video making pencil marks or just basically eyeballing something. But I didn't want to take like a ruler or even use my, what's it called, paper cutter or guillotine to make those cuts. So I was really crafting freely here, if I can say that. And yes, lace. Much lace. But as you can see, it's not too striking. It's quite neutral because it's so thin. So I think it goes so well with many different themes as well. It's vintage lace. I don't know from which year, but I just love it. It's great. I hope you're getting some new ideas, tips and tricks from this video, or just enjoying watching me create this folio. If you are, I would really enjoy it if you, or appreciate it if you would leave a like, maybe comment, subscribe to my channel, because it's a little bit, well, I really like doing videos like that or like this. I'm not saying that, but it is just what keeps me going when I know that there's even one person out there who is enjoying my content. So it's always nice to hear when somebody is. The next thing I did was open the central flaps, or the second set of flaps, and I started to decorate those. All through this decoration process, I really enjoyed kind of like hiding the mice or the little scenes that I made somewhere, because it made me feel like I'm somebody who is looking, from the other side of the bush or something, and looking at the mice and just watching what they're doing with their lives. I feel like it brings a little bit more to the story, so that's why I did this. I just took one of the blueberry branches and put it on top the small journaling card. It's one of those that I made by myself, and just put that in the corner, cutting off the excess, everything that was hanging off the edge. I wanted to kind of hide the flap in there, so I was trying different things. Finally, I went with this strip of scrap. Another scrap used. Yay. Love it. And I was using the flaps to measure it into the right length, because I didn't want it to show when I closed the flaps. So here you can see me put it in its place really lightly, and then taking the flap and making sure it doesn't show. Then, yeah, you guessed it, more lace. It's fun. What can I say? I'm definitely not one of those people who are super fussy with their scissors. By that I mean I just use whatever I have on hand. Usually that is not good. If you have a pair of good, let's say, paper scissors, or like I have the cutter piece, they're quite pricey, especially here in Finland. So they last a lot longer if I would just use them for paper. But mine have been dropped one time too many. So they are honestly not in their best shape anymore anyway. That's why I used to be much more careful with using them. But these days I just cut whatever. Not wire or anything like that. Or anything metallic. Definitely not. But yeah, I don't mind cutting lace or something with them. Here I kind of like created a scene of Mummy Mouse and Daddy Mouse and their baby sleeping in the background. I thought that was really cute. I feel like this became basically like a scrapbook for Mouse family or something. That's how I look at it. I love to make up little stories about everything I make. Here I was trying to figure out what to do with the last flap. I had some of the journaling cards that I had printed with 2 sheets on 1 page, and I decided to make a little kind of like waterfall photo slide. I don't know what to call it. So at first I made scores every half an inch, and then I cut the strips into 1 inch. I don't know. You can see what I'm doing. It's really hard to explain. I hope you know what I'm doing, at least. But I'm just trying to come up with a way to hinge the small images onto my background paper. Now I'm cutting them into the correct size or length so that they won't show when you're looking at them from the other side, or basically the right side from the top. I was also scoring them so that they were glued nicely. Then I inked around the edges. I also decided to round the bottom corners of them. So here I did that again. I actually went with, it's kind of like production line here. So I did 1 step with them all, and then I went on to the next one and so on. Here I could have just realized that I had 6 half an inch hinges, which means I have like 6 inch of those hinges, but I was thinking about the placement, so I kind of like put them into a row and left the bottom one into its place, starting from there, and then I just started gluing them in a line. Here I managed to glue one of the flaps down, so it dripped a little bit, but I wasn't too concerned about that either. I used different techniques, oh my goodness, techniques to put this on, but I was just making sure that they were all centered and that they are lined up nicely. When I started doing this, I had a really strict order in my mind, but at one point I realized that I had just glued the mouse that I wanted to be on the top down already, so I just went with it and changed the order basically. Well, mistakes happen, and I'm not saying it's bad. It works just as well. Nobody knows what my original idea was anyway. Then I wanted to make a closure for it. So I took one of the small journaling cards that I had left, placed it on top of that yellow scrap piece. Here, I wasn't really sure what I was going to do with it. So at first I thought I would glue that piece of scrap in between the two layers that I put together, but I decided against it. I can't even remember why, I just did. And yes, I am going to glue that straight on top. I have forgotten so many times in this video to ink up the edges before putting glue on the piece, so I decided to do them both at the same time. I also took a strawberry fruit and some cake and layered them on top of that closure piece. But yeah, long story short, I had no idea what I was doing, but I made it work. I didn't like the way the white was showing on the, backside, so I just took that second piece of my scrap piece of paper and glued it there. Then I had a little bit of a problem because they weren't exactly the same width. I had got them by hand when I was cutting apart the folio kit. But I made it work with some scissors and some ink. It worked well. And I wanted to make the spot where the second scrap ended a little bit sturdier. So that's why I added a small extra piece of that yellow paper in there. The cake was kind of like hanging in the air, and I didn't quite like that. The reed was also showing, so I just put some ink on top of, or on the bottom there, to hide it and to make it look more finished. Once again, I just made some pencil markings onto the paper so that I would know where I needed to fold. Then I left myself a little bit of a hinge so that I could glue that down and erase the pencil marks. I was trying to line this piece up with the third journaling card from the top so that it would be in kind of like centered. Maybe not quite, but still. I had another piece which was exactly the same width as the first piece I used, which is great. So that's what I used for the second part of the closure. And I just glued that on for some more stability. Here, once again, I wasn't quite sure what I was doing. I thought I would make like a circular closure for it, but I changed my mind and took another of those small journaling cards instead. Basically, I'm doing the same that I did with the first piece of this closure, which means I'm stacking two layers together, then I'm rounding the edges, hopefully using some ink. There we go. Then I put the strip on the backside of my journaling card piece, inked up the edges, and this time I was smarter and I actually glued this strip going all across the journaling card. It's just much more stable that way. I was just checking the orientation of the journaling card that I had. Then I made sure it was directly under the first piece, made myself some marks, scored it, erased the marks, folded it once again, I'm making sure they are directly on top of each other. Took some glue and glued down the hinge. There we go. And now I was actually looking for some magnetic closure, but I didn't have any on hand. So I just went with one of those hook and loop rounds. Again, I actually put it almost on top of the, or towards the top of the bottom piece to make it easier to open, and also because my cover's closure is pretty much centered on the folio. So here we have the final flip through of the finished folio. Once again, don't forget to like and subscribe, maybe comment. I'm hopeful. So at first we have this envelope flip with the small journaling card. Let's put that back in. Next we have the tuck spot with the cutest ever little mouse. And then we have the waterfall family album closure thingy with all the flaps here on the side. I think that turned out really cute. I think I'm going to make much more of closures like that in the future, now that I kind of figured out what I should do and what I should not do. First time for everything, right? Then I close the front flap. Here we have the 4 pockets on the first or second panel of the folio. And now I'm getting to the long pocket with the journaling card. I could have decorated the back of this. I didn't, but I could have. Maybe I will later on. Also some little dangly bit on that well-tail tab would be really cool. Once I get this open, we have some collage on the top flap. Also in the bottom flap. I think those are always like nice touches when you find something you weren't really expecting. Here's the flap. I don't know what to call this. Double flap something. The back is also still undecorated, so there's room for stamping or whatever I might do later on. I'm actually quite pleased with how this came out. I think I will be making much more folios later on. And as I'm opening this final spot of my folio and showing you the results with everything that I made, I want to thank you for watching and spending a little time of your day with me today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please go see Natty's Facebook group if you're not in there to get some of these goodies I used in this video, or go check her Etsy shop out. I'm sure she would love that. Other than that, I will just close my folio and I will see you next time. Bye for now.